Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Have you ever gone into the thick woods and found weird shit? It can be mundane or absolutely crazy, like a murder or ritual site. If it's a bit scary, let us know about it.
Be me at age 8. Live on farmland in nowhere, Texas. Literally nowhere. Nearest town was 15 minutes away with a population of less than 300. Largest buildings there were the church, still pretty small, and a gas station. Remember some nights when there was no moon, or it was covered by clouds for almost the whole night. Used to hear coyotes howl at night, would leave the window open. We had a screen over it so bugs wouldn't get in. Liked to listen to them howl. One night I heard coyote friends in the distance. Suddenly I hear yelps and screams. I'm not talking like some of them were in a fight. I'm talking about bloody murder. If you've ever heard a dog being beaten to death, it's like that but worse. This didn't happen just once. Literally every full moon would hear this. Eventually coyotes stopped coming around. Mostly flat farmland around my house, but there was a tree line and thick woods probably 2 acres from my house. Been several nights since I've heard my coyote friends howl. See full moon but covered by clouds. Always had trouble sleeping. Would lay in bed for hours but my mind would never shut off no matter how tired my body was. Staring at the tree line one night. Can't really see it with the moon hiding. Clouds break for maybe a second and a half and get a glimpse of something on all fours. I'm not talking like a bear or dog. This thing looked feral, looked human. I see it sniffing the ground. Clouds cover up the moon again. Last thing I see before the moon is hidden is his head jolting up and noticing our porch light. Dad never turns it off at night. Old world shit. Wait maybe 15 minutes in bed scared shitless that it's coming over. Hear grass rustle. Hear the fence being jostled. Hear something sniffing. Hardcore sniffing. Like a coke addict. It's right outside my window. Nope.jpg. Hide under covers because kid logic dictates if I'm under the covers that's base and you can't tag me. Hear fingers scratching at the screen door. Literally wet myself, don't make a noise. Don't even breathe. Hear him sniffing the screen. All of a sudden the smell smells like death. Rotting death smeared in shit. This coming from a kid who woke up smelling cow shit every morning. Nearly gag but fear if I make noise I die. Hear scratching. He's trying to pry back the screen. I thought to myself, he can't get me. I closed the window. Realize in my haste I forgot. Thank God my dad nailed that shit shut. He's still trying before he stops. No, he hasn't left yet. Still smell the stench. Can feel him, like he's staring through the blanket and into my soul. Feels like an eternity before I finally hear him crawl off and hear him deftly scale the fence again. Don't sleep. Too afraid to leave bed. Still covered in my own piss. Stay there till I hear my parents' bedroom door open. Tell them right then and there while I'm still drenched. They call the cops. Cops say apparently there's a meth lab somewhere outside the town they recently shut down. No more meth. Apparently meth withdrawal can make you feral. Screw that. You want to talk about an anti-drug campaign. That shit right there.
Used to go up to the woods at the top of town a lot as a kid and play army with friends. These 2 brothers I used to pal around with had never been, so we went up, and I told them about this guy someone told me lived in the woods called the Black Spanker. Since I lived near the woods, it sounded terrifying, but now I realized the kid was just pulling my leg, probably. I took them towards a tree swing my grandpa used to push me on when I was even younger. We stopped before we even got close to it because there was somebody standing on the path beside it, just pointing at the swing, staring dead at us, dressed in black. But it could have just been the distance and the light. The brothers were freaking out trying to see who he was, and I just kept telling them it was a tree twisted weird. So we walked closer and saw that it was a man, and it looked like he was holding his hand out as if he was holding a dog leash. But he started walking towards us, still staring, and he definitely didn't have a dog with him. Had just been standing like that for no apparent reason until he saw us. We bolted it out and down the hill back into town and waited to see if he would come out. Nobody came, so we gradually convinced ourselves it had just been a tree. Not anything particularly terrifying, but damn if my hair ain't sticking straight up trying to type it.
Me about 10 years ago at senior retreat. It's at a nice little resort on the other side of a lake outside of town in NorCal. Typical activities. Group sessions where we write in some journals. Kids take shifts making food. They turn us loose occasionally to ride bikes and shit. Friend and I spent the afternoon riding bikes down to an old train tunnel. It's pretty sick. Later that night, the sun has gone down. We're back at the cafeteria for some little powwow. I forgot my notebook back at the cabin. Say I'll go grab it real fast and hop on a bike. Have to ride down a dark little dirt road for a bit until I see the porch light. Pop in and grab it. Have to take a piss, might as well do it while I'm here. Open the back door, which leads out to a big cliff that goes down to the river. Start whizzing off the porch. Then a stone's throw down the hill. I hear something snarl at me. Assume it's a friend messing with me. I start talking to it. Ha ha, you're not fooling me, dude. But that little voice in my head is saying, get back inside. I zip up and bolt back inside. Cracked the door and listened outside. Could hear something rustling around out there. Paced around for a little while until I got up the nerve to haul ass back to the cafeteria. Nobody believes me because I'm the class clown and they all figure I'm just fucking around. The next day on a nature hike, a camp counselor pointed out a bear wandering around across the river. Really, it could have been anything. Coyote, bear, mountain lion. Moral of the story, always listen to that little voice in your head.
Holy shit, that's advice that will save your life. One time I went to this really old park with miles and miles of woods when I was a child with my homeschool group, and I had that exact same feeling in my gut as I went down this trail on my bike. I had been going in the same circle of trails, really far from the rest of the group for a half hour, when I saw this new path that had some trees hanging over it. A little creepy, but a new road to ride on. As I pull into the shady, semi-unpaved section of the trail, I look to my right and see an Indian man in his 40s standing 8 feet from me off in the grass, coming out of the deep woods, with his fucking hands up as if he's going to grab me, and the most cartoonishly evil grin on his face. It was the look you make when you're trying to scare someone as much as humanly possible. I pedaled away in fucking terror. It was almost a joke. There was a cliff that the path ran off into, so my front tire ran off the cliff, and I had to pull it up and pedal away like an action sequence from a Saturday Morning Lassie episode. I went back to my group and told them that there was a fucking PDF that just tried to grab me, and I could literally have been being assaulted to death at that exact second. And that man is still in the park, 300 feet away. They didn't give a shit. Not a single murmur or eye blinked. I guess they didn't believe me either.
Changed my life. Be me, 15. From Ireland, I recently moved to the States. Hiking the Appalachian Trail with a summer camp group in the North Carolina-Tennessee border area. We stayed the night in one of the shelters, tied food up in bear bags, shared the shelter with another group. I was sleeping near the front of the shelter. I woke up to a bunch of flashlights. Naturally, pudgy, dumb, 15-year-old me also turned my flashlight on to investigate. Shined my light right on the most hideous, inbred, disgusting, dirty person I had ever seen. It's actually a whole family of people. They're stealing our stuff. Kid spots me awake. I try to fake being asleep. Inbred kid runs over, holds a knife up to my throat and asks his dad if he should just slit it on the spot. For a backpack with a sleeping bag in it. At this point, I'm literally realizing I'm gonna die and hoping God is up there and I made the right choice. I'm hysterically crying. Dad says no. Kid does it anyway. Not badly, but I'm bleeding from my neck. I crawl over to the camp counselor who wakes up and calls the police, my blood going everywhere. I safely got out via airlift, but it was the closest call of my life. The family was caught afterwards, but not for a while. The kid faced attempted murder charges, and I'm sure you can find an article about it. I can't even explain these people. They looked feral.
Be me. Have a thick wooded area behind my woods. The previous owner of the house was an old lady who had dementia. I met her once and she kept repeating, "Hell is beneath those woods. Hell is beneath those woods." It freaked me out to the point where I avoided them for the early part of my childhood. When I was 13, my younger brother, who was 11, was in his adventure stage of his childhood. We started going into the woods more and more and building forts and stuff. Every second you were in those woods, you could hear what sounded like a keychain full of keys rattling. Just a constant clinking of chains in the distance. It was quiet, but you could definitely hear it. We had no idea what it was, but eventually got used to it. Dad says it's a grain elevator out in the distance. Mom says it's to scare off foxes. One night, me and Lil Bro decide to sleep in the woods. We get a big fire going, have a $5 tent, and a pack of hot dogs. Nighttime comes around. We are laying down having trouble sleeping, because the ground is so hard on our backs. The rattling gets noticeably louder. I don't want to freak my brother out, so I don't say anything. Fast forward an hour, Lil Bro is hard asleep. I'm just focusing on the sound of chains and keys. It's getting louder. Now it feels like it's someone just shaking a keychain as hard as they can 10 feet away from the tent. Hear footsteps. Oh shit. It's now right outside our tent. My little brother is about to wake up. There is a silhouette starting to appear on the tent wall from the light of the embers. It's a humanoid figure walking towards the tent. He wakes up, screams so loud. Rush of adrenaline kicks in, flight or fight response. I burst open the tent with full force and started screaming curse words. No one is there. The rattling gets quieter and quieter until it's back to sounding like it's a quarter-mile away. Carry my crying little brother up through the thick woods back to the house at full speed.
My grandpa told me stories of Bigfoot and has written memoirs about them as well. Most of them take place in the Paiutes. I believe they mostly take place in the 70s when he still hunted. He would usually go up there alone, using his Arisaka rifle to shoot game. Every time he ventured out there, he had this peculiar feeling of being watched. He would hear footsteps behind him, crunching sticks and leaves, etc. But there was nothing to be seen. He saw human tracks, leading him to believe it was Bigfoot. Oftentimes, he would hear strange calls reverberate throughout the mountains. It was then that he knew this place was wrong. There was also a cult that held rituals or whatever out in the Paiute woods. I believe they murdered people as well. Nearby, my grandpa found an abandoned mine. There was a strange buzzing sound emanating from within. It sounded like bees or hornets, but it came deep from within the mine. The noise was extremely loud, but not debilitating. The mine was too dark to investigate without light equipment.
I don't know if this counts as in the woods, but I live in a very, very rural part of northern Ontario, and I saw a really strange animal once that I can't identify or really explain while a buddy was driving me home. It was like 2-3 a.m. if I recall correctly, so it was pretty dark outside at the time. We were about 20 minutes away from my house before something ran across the road in front of the car. I drew a picture in Microsoft Paint when I got home to try and help a friend understand what I saw while trying to explain it to him, so I'll post that as well. The scratchy person is just there to help with height reference, I guess. But it was about 4 to 5 feet tall, had a large, very round kind of egg-shaped body that looked like it was covered in short, thick brown fur. I specifically remember it looking like fur. It had long, thin legs that bent backwards at the knee, and the weird thing was that I couldn't see any neck or head, just the body and legs. It wasn't a weird angle or anything either. It definitely didn't have a neck or head. After it ran across the road, me and my buddy were silent for about the next 5 minutes before I asked him if he saw something really weird earlier, and when he said yes, I asked him what he saw, and he described exactly the same thing before I even said anything about what I saw, so I know it wasn't just me, which is what makes this kind of weird. If he hadn't seen anything, I would have just tossed it up to me being tired or something.
Looks like a bird with its head and neck tucked under a wing.
See, I've considered the same thing, and there is even an emu farm within about 20 miles from where I live, but both me and my buddy said we definitely saw no head or neck and agreed that it looked like fur and not feathers. The emu farm is on a park kind of thing, where people keep their trailers and hang out during the summer, so we've both seen the emus plenty of times in the past, and agreed it didn't really look like one.
Be me at age 8. Parents decide enough of the burbs, buy a modern build on the side of a mountain overlooking the ocean, way out but close enough for me to get driven into town for school, etc. 2 weeks after moving in, Dad has to leave for a conference in Texas. Night 1, just me, Mom, baby sister. First night the noises start. Horrific, god-awful, inhuman noises. Mom's lived in the city her whole life. Assumes it's an animal. Calls Animal Control and Royal Canadian Mounted Police because the dangerous stuff shouldn't be this far south this season. Sounds stop a few minutes before the Mounties pull up. They have a quick look around with rifles out, assuming it was a sick cougar. No signs of anything, at least in the dark. They begin to walk back to their truck. Older officer turns to my mom by the front door and asks which direction the bedroom sliding doors face out to. She says northeast, and he just turns a bit pale. Says that she should keep the family camped out in the living room and front side of the house for the night just in case the animal comes back. Night 2. Mom drove us into town. We rented a movie and got popcorn, the usual kind of stuff for a summer night in the early 90s. Get back home. Halfway through Aladdin, those noises start up again. Mom is panicking a little, not like her little sister crying a lot. Once again, RCMP shows up. Same older officer, but a different partner. First Nations, middle-aged, tall and fit. He doesn't have a firearm or even much gear compared to the other Mounties I've seen. Just goes wandering off into the woods while the older guy asks my mom if we have coffee on. He sits down with her at the kitchen table while I'm looking after my sister. They're talking fast but hushed. At this point, I'm just saying what my mom told me he said. Same goes for a lot of the other interactions between her and the Mountie dudes after this because, I was 8. He starts explaining to her that the other officer is native from the local tribe, and that the whole development area that our house is included in was part of their original tribal territory. While this area wasn't specifically a burial ground, it was often looked at as sacred due to how many died here. See, this whole mountainside was the border of their lands with another aggressive tribe. They would fight them here and die here, but the laws were only set up to protect grave sites and ancient towns. This is just an old woods mountainside. And basically they get calls from this area at least once a week or so about strange noises or odd lights in the woods, stuff that in other areas wouldn't cause anyone much mind. An animal, a poacher's light, teenagers messing around in the woods, but out here it's never anything like that. Native Mountie comes in at this point, gives the other guy and my mom a short nod. Says it's taken care of for now, but to call him directly if there are other problems in the future. Head off to bed that night fine after finishing Aladdin. Things proceed mostly okay for the next few days, but things are always a bit tense after dark. Sorry for being slow. This shit still freaks me out to think about, and I know my mom just tries to pretend it didn't happen.
I was 13 when my family and I went on vacation to a house on the outskirts of Villa Urquiza, a small town. The house was in the middle of nowhere and had a clear view of the Parana River. The zone was a bit creepy since the nearest house was like 300 meters away, and there were 2 cemeteries nearby, one from the 19th century. The day we arrived, I was a bit curious and went to explore the forest next to the house. I found some junk. Metal scrap, a tire, some cans and bottles, some like 20 years old. After exploring a bit more, I found a metal cross with a name and dates on it. It was pretty old, and it was very rusty. It said something like this: In Memoria de Roberto J. Moll, 1886 to 1952. There was a memorial for somebody who died in 1952, in the middle of a forest located in a very random place. I was a bit confused and scared. I stayed there for a minute before going back to the house. I didn't want my parents to know that I was hanging around the forest because they would get mad, so I kept quiet. 5 days later, the last day of our stay, was a rainy day. There was a storm last night and there was a sad atmosphere in the place. I went back to the forest once again to see the cross once again just for curiosity and to show kind of respect to that random guy. When I found it, I found some fresh flowers next to the cross. I stood there even more confused and scared than when I first found the cross. I turned away and went to the house again. I still think about who would go to a forest in the middle of nowhere and leave flowers to that guy. The person who did it surely loved him, but it's still creepy.
Be age 9. At a camping resort with my family. Our camper is in the back part of the property, deep in the woods. Mom, sisters, and I decide to walk a nearby trail to find out where it goes. About a half-mile away from our camper, we find a weird structure made out of large branches, 4 sticks in each corner of a square shape, with 4 sticks laid across the tops forming a sort of cube. 50 to 100 little crosses made of small sticks bound together by yarn and string dangling from tree branches surrounding the stick cube thing. Oldest sister freaked out, saying it was some Blair Witch shit. Mom got mad and smacked her for cursing, but Mom was also very perplexed. I wander up into the middle of the stick structure, something that looks like dried blood all over the leaves on the ground. A couple spots of blood on the sticks that made up the structure as well. Mom gets too anxious and drags us back to the camper. We camp at the resort for a few more vacations, but never in the back park again. 4 summers ago, age 16, get dragged back to the campground for what would thankfully be our last trip there. Super boring. Been coming for years, so I've already experienced the thrill of camping to death. Get bored one afternoon. Tell parents I'm going for a walk. Remember the weird structure we found in the woods those years ago. Decide to go see if it's still there. Weirdly, the property had decreased in size, removing roughly 10 or so acres from the place. No longer allowed to camp back where we did that summer. We found all the sticks. Have to walk even further through creepy woods to get to the spot. Before I get there, I notice there are crosses in trees even further from the spot than last time. Arrive roughly where the structure was. Hundreds and hundreds of crosses all over the woods now. The cube thing is gone, and the ground where it was is charred, as if someone had recently had a fire there. Woods are eerily silent in that spot. Remember my mom making an offhand remark about how quiet it was the time my family came to this spot. Hang for a few minutes before I start to hear noises from a nearby ridgeline. Decide to haul ass out of there and go back to the camper.
Be Summer Camp Monitor. Every Sunday we have this adventure day when we get our tents and sleeping bags, and we go into the woods in the evening and stay the night. 2nd week. All pretty good. Kids have free time after setting up the camp. Designated punching bag fat kid comes running yelling he found a fridge half buried in the dirt. Okay, Andres, whatever you say. He rallies some kids to go investigate. They come back. Andres was right. There's a fridge. Go with the kids since I cannot just leave actual trash in the forest. They took me to the small creek, a very shallow river, near some rocks and trees. Not only is there a fridge, there are several fridges, small, portable ones. Different colors and models, buried at different levels. Some only have one corner sticking out, while the one fat kid found is just stuck a couple of centimeters into the mud. Managed to pry open the unearthed one. It's filled with trash. Small dolls, regular euro coins, and old Spanish pesetas. I'm Spanish. Bits of glass and plastic, dirt and rocks. Kids are excited thinking they found a treasure and want to take it back to the main camp. Call the rest of the kids and unbury all the fridges we can and get them to the van. Fat kid is the camp celebrity for the night. Arrive at camp the next day. Kids present the fridges as a forest treasure to the rest of the kids. Laugh it off as some weird forest shit. Communal opening of the fridge. More dolls and trash. Flag of the camp inside one of them. Some kids' clothes, mostly socks. But I remember one sky blue girl shirt. More dolls. Bits of plastic, wrappings, and dirt. We told the kids it was a planned treasure hunt. They bought it when they saw the camp flag. Apparently most of the shit there was stuff from other years' kids that had disappeared. We went through the lost and found lists, and some of the dolls were there. It's been almost 6 years and still creeps me out.
Not really in a woods, but on a long trail in a Civil War park. Biking while sightseeing. I stumbled upon an old couple in their 70s also biking. Start conversing, talking about the sights and general bullshitting. Be on my way, eventually get tired, and start heading back. Oh hey, it's the old couple again casually biking ahead of me. Start pedaling a little faster to catch up to them. After a bit, I noticed something's off. Pedaling pretty fast. Still haven't caught up. Go even faster, not even gaining an inch towards them. 70-year-olds are biking faster than me? Go as fast as I possibly can. I'm actually gaining a bit of ground. I can see them pretty close now. Something's off about how they are moving. Looks like they're sliding on the ground. Wheels aren't moving. They aren't pedaling. Heads never look left and right. Never turning handlebars. Never slowing down. My something's funky meter goes nuts. They take a sharp turn, never turning head or handlebars, just sliding. I take a turn, and they're completely gone. Fear sets in. I panic bike like a wuss away, looking behind me the whole time. I know it's a lame-ass story, but goddamn if it wasn't scary at the time. I can't decide if they were ghosts or some glitch in the Matrix.
I've posted these on /x/ a couple of times over the years. They're not spooky or anything, more so curious or weird. Used to do quite a bit of exploring and hiking Innawoods here in Finland when I was younger. A few friends and I shared the same adventurous outdoorsy spark, so we occasionally set off to check out the woods and bigger swamps close to our hometown, occasionally a bit further away. Mostly it's just a whole lot of nothing interesting up in the woods here, except for a lot of beautiful nature. But here are a couple of the more curious finds. Near one of the swamps we were exploring, I stumbled on a relatively large, pretty decently laid out stone pentagram. A ritual circle, I suppose. Burnt out candles and dead flower petals and the like on the points. But in the middle of the pentagram there was an old fridge door. I surmise whoever was responsible for building the whole circle was trying to summon the demon of chicken tendies. A proto/B/Spurg cult? Another time in another woods we stumbled upon an old grave marker or headstone with the name King, and dates in the future, sometime in the 2030s I believe. Sadly it was in the times before camera phones existed and nobody bothered to take a film camera for a general hike. Not sure whereabouts in the woods it was, haven't been back there. Oh, also ran away from some folks who I assume were a local group of youths or something and weren't all that happy about a bunch of peeps stumbling on their meetup or whatever. They had bats and shit. We had nothing.
I went out hunting at my grandma's place in October of last year. Nice area, woods, cornfields, several ponds, large creek cutting the property in half. Sitting in a tree stand for hours. Get bored. Had been reading a bunch of shit on skinwalkers for the past 3 days. Say Nald Lushi repeatedly for several minutes. Nothing of interest happens. Later that same month. Brother is about to ship off to basic. We have been going to our grandma's house to play airsoft since we were kids. Decide to go play one last time. Play for a few hours, stop and break. Decide to do some night rounds. In the woods, only one trail in the entire area, immensely overgrown. 11 p.m. Deep in the woods at the bottom of a hill. Hear something walking towards me. Shoot at it thinking it was one of our group. It stops, taunted, hear someone from a ways behind me. Not me, dumb shit. Who is it? Walking resumes, can't see shit. Grab a flashlight, nothing there. Call for a pause. Everyone gathers up. We all started talking. Everyone heard footsteps. They thought it was me trying to freak them out since I know the area the best. In the midst of talking about who did it, we hear the movement again. I've hunted for years, as has my cousin T who was with us. In fact, we both grew up in the country. We hunted and cleaned many animals. We're familiar with all the game that is in the area as we hunted this property for years. Hey T, yeah? Do you hear it? It's on 2 legs. Airsoft guns up, flashlights all out. Walk backwards out of the woods. Eventually make it out of the woods to the field and up to the house, what we deemed the safest route. Hear it walking around outside for a few hours. Lock all the doors and draw the blinds. Brother who went into the military comes into the room we're in with an AR-15. God bless rural America. At my grandma's house, alone, we amass an AR-AK, 2 shotguns, 3 machetes, and a 9mm. Pick related, the area we were in. There's a total of 6 of us, by the way. Brother decides being killed by something spoopy in the woods is cooler. Let's go. 6 guys between ages 18, 23, toting what we believe to be adequate protection. Leave the safety of the lit house and go down the hill into the woods. Don't hear the footsteps anymore. Decide to go back to original spot. B, the voice of reason, complains the entire way. We talk and generally make a lot of noise so as to scare off any animals that are in the area and keep ourselves calm. We don't really want to find anything. Decide to walk the entire property. Eventually make it across a cornfield to a pond. The pond dam leaks, and there had been a bit of rain. Muddy fields. Great. Decide to walk up to the pond for a smoke and old memories before we head back. Get to the pond. Chilling. Brother goes off to take a piss at the edge of the woods. Middle of his piss, a woman screams. In the middle of nowhere, at 2 a.m. It came from the woods on the other side of the pond. Brother pisses on himself. Guns almost all go up in level at the far end of the pond. Those without guns draw machetes, buck knives. B goes pale. Fuck it, I'm out. Maybe it was a fox. We have mountain cats out here too. They can sound like that. Don't care. Have fun dying. B takes off by himself back to the field. T has his gun shouldered, as does my brother. Hold still for a moment. Flashlight scanning the area. Deathly silence, then singing. Singing. A woman is singing on the other side of the pond. At this point, we collectively decide to nope out of there and head back for the house. Quickly catch back up with B. We decide to run. Don't look back. No one wants to see whatever sounded like a singing woman in the country miles from a road at 2 a.m. Get back to the house. Lockdown mode. Take turns sleeping. Nothing else of interest happens that night. Haven't hung out there since.
After the third burglary in my home, I started patrolling the vicinity at night. In those days, I worked as a newspaper deliverer and was awake at odd hours. One night, I came upon two junkies in a car on a forestry road. Both passed out, either from lack of sleep or from whatever shit they were doing. Still upset over the burglaries, I sneaked up to the driver's side and stabbed the guy there a few times in the throat. Then the other guy, got the can of gas from my truck's bed and soaked the interior of the car with that and lit it. Sat on the road watching the thing burn, laughing. About a week later, the car wreck was discovered and it said in the newspaper that the police thought it was gang-related. I enjoyed it and want to do it again.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.